So Phantasy Star 1, what an awesome game. The story of Phantasy Star 1 is pretty simple. Alice, a 15-year-old girl, witnesses her brother Nero get executed for trying to rebel against King Lassic. Nero hands his shitty short sword to Alice, tells her to find a man named Odin, and she promises revenge. Something that can be very off-putting about this game is how easily you die in the beginning. You leave your town and you fight a swarm, kill him, you end up with like half your HP left, go to town, heal, save your game, and do it all over again. It's not going to be until around your level 4 or so that you can be comfortable taking down a scorpion, or maybe a party of 2 swarms. But once you get to level 4, that's when I recommend you go to Scion, which is like the second town, pretty much east of Caminette direct. You talk to the guy in the shop, and he's selling something called secrets. You try to buy it, but he doesn't want anything to do with that. You leave the shop, and you kind of think, okay, that's not where I'm supposed to be, and you venture off again and find more things to do, and you do more exploring. Wrong. You just wasted time. Go back inside that shop, he'll give you the heal again, leave, go back in, and then finally, if you're persistent enough, he sells you the road pass. I guess he thought you were a cop or something, who knows. He gives you the road pass, and now you can finally enter the spaceport that's inside of your hometown. Like, this is a very typical like 80s, 90s RPG thing where you have to do something over and over again without any results to get the final result at the end. It's ridiculous. Like, I remember in Legend of Zelda when you had to go up 4 times in a row just to find the 5th dungeon, I think it was, or the 4th dungeon. That's pretty cryptic. That's unbelievably hidden and mysterious. Like, come on, you're not gonna get things like that without a guide. Now, since the lore and the world of Phantasy Star wasn't really established, to heal your party, you actually need to buy burgers and colas. There are no monomates, dimates, or trimates in this game. This is really one of those RPGs where you need to talk to every single NPC you encounter. You need those hints bad. And not only do you need the hints, but some of these sometimes talking to an NPC acts as like a trigger event that you have to talk to them in order for an item to appear somewhere else. That can be really annoying. Once you go to Motavia, enter this house and exchange the Laconian pot for Meow. Buy flashes, as you'll need them to light up dungeons and caves. In the first dungeon, you rescue Odin with the astral line from Meow's necklace. He agrees to help Alice on her quest and says he's on his own quest, searching for a mythical axe that Medusa currently owns. Grab the compass in the same dungeon and go south to the town of Epi and buy the needle gun. Buy the needle gun. You're also going to want to talk to an NPC in Epi, again, that acts as a trigger event for a dungeon key. So now that you've talked to this NPC, go back to Caminette, your hometown, and go into that mini dungeon in the top right corner, and now the dungeon key is there, when before it wasn't there at all. You try to talk to the governor, but a robot cop says you need a gift. So you end up checking every shop that you've been to in every town you've been to, and nothing is sticking out to you. Like, you know, the secrets was kind of weird to be there. There's nothing that you can see in the shops that you're gonna say, oh, okay, that looks kind of weird. What is that? Let me buy it, and I'll go give it to the governor. Turns out you need to go to a random cave and go to a dead end in the dungeon, and there's a guy there selling shortcake. And he even says it himself. Oh, sorry for having such a weird location for a shop. Like, fuck that guy. You get the shortcake, you bring it to the governor, and he writes a letter that you must give to Lutz, who is called Noah in the English translation, I don't know why. Eventually in a cave, you meet Lutz, and then he tells you about an underground passage that leads to the town of Gothic. So the next thing you do is you go south of Gothic and you meet Dr. Luveno. Again, when you meet him, he basically tells you to get lost, but talk to him 3 more times and he changes his mind. He agrees to help you build a spaceship, but at the same time, you have to find a robot named Hapsby to pilot the ship. So you go on this long journey to go to this town Abion to buy something called polymetrol. And look how damn far away it is! Luckily the town before it, Lore, actually sells the best weapon for Meow in the game, the Silver Fang. And you can also buy a better gun for Odin, the Heat Gun, which deals 10 damage instead of 5. Once you get to Abion, go to the peninsula to fight Dr. Mad, and he leaves behind another Laconian pot. Now go back to the trash town of Bortavo and use the polymetrol on the junk with the house with the blue gem. Remember the house with the blue gem, because if you use it and waste it on another random piece of junk, you have to go all the way back and get more polymetrol. Now that you have Hapsby, return to Luveno and you got your ship. You can choose to fly to Uzo on Matavia or Skur on Deseris. Even though the next part of the main quest is to go to Uzo, I'm telling you to go to Skur. Some of the best equipment is right here. The wand for Lutz, the gloves for Meow, and the best weapon in the entire game, the laser gun. This gun deals 20 damage to each enemy. So if you're facing a group of 5 enemies, he's going to be doing 100 damage combined, overall making him the strongest character in the game. Get out of Skur and head to Uzo and go south to the town of Caspa. Kill the boss of the dungeon, the Caspa dragon, and it will leave behind the Amber Eye, which will be useful much later. Once you're in Caspa, buy the Land Rover. And also, don't forget this, you also have to talk to an NPC in this house and talk to him about a hovercraft, and if you don't do that, you cannot get the hovercraft. Again, another trigger event kind of thing. You need to talk to this NPC in order to get the hovercraft later on in the game. You go back to the junk village Bortavo, you get the hovercraft, you use the hovercraft to enter Drazgow, and you buy a gas shield. Fly back to Motavia, past the gas clouds northeast of Uzo, enter the village, and talk to this man who wants 400 Meseta for information. You pay it, and then he tells you that there's a mirror shield in the middle of the lake, which luckily is east of here. And this seems to be like one out of only 2 parts of the game where you actually have to press, go to the menu and press search. And you better press search in this magical spot on a screen. Because you go like half a pixel away, you're not gonna activate, you're not gonna get it. You have to be so specific just to get this mirror shield. It's kind of insane. So now Odin can finally fight Medusa. Go all the way back to Gothic on Palma and go south and go to that dungeon I think it's a red dungeon. When your party kills her, she finally drops the Laconian axe. Now I said before that the laser gun was the best weapon for Odin. Probably the best weapon in the game, but definitely the best weapon for Odin. And it's funny because Odin's quest himself was to kill Medusa and get the Laconian axe. That was his main quest. You've finally done so, and the laser gun is still better. So now you're finally at the point of the game where you need to start exploring the ice planet Deseris. Eventually you'll find a town in Deseris called Twin Town, and you're gonna wanna buy the ice digger there. It's really expensive, but you need it to beat the game. Drive around to find some breakable mountains to get to the Larma tree. Use the torch, and Larma nuts will fall into your Laconian pot. Now is the time to check Lutz's stats. Does he have the open spell? If he does, good, get ready for the end of the game. Go to the northeast part of Palma we've been ignoring this whole game, and enter. You'll see a special door that can only be opened with magic. Have Lutz use open. Do not show the robot copy your road pass, otherwise he transports you to the basement of the dungeon. Just say no, kill him, and make your way into Bay Malay Tower. Now, Bay and Malay Tower, the final dungeon in the game, has, I think, between 20 and 25-ish floors, so it's gonna be a real pain in the ass. But at the same time, you gotta get the crystal. The crystal is something that you're going to need to survive King Lassic's blows. He's really strong. So don't ever get to the top floor of this tower without finding the crystal first. So once you get the crystal, you reach the top floor. Use the arrow prism to see the air castle, and then have Meow eat the llama nuts so that he transforms with wings and your party flies up to the air castle. You're gonna get attacked by a dragon mid-flight. He's not very difficult. Kill his ass. Try to conserve Lutz's magic if you can. Once you're in the castle, you'll find another magic door, save the game, and open it. Even though Alice has a Laconian sword and Odin has a Laconian axe, I'm gonna tell you not to use either of them. Alice, yeah, have her equip the sword, but make her use the fire spell. It's gonna be doing more damage than her sword. Odin, with his axe, I mean, you know what? Just use the laser gun, because you will consistently do 20 damage every time. And when you have Lutz using like wind on Lassic, wind is gonna be doing, wind and fire is really all you need. You got Meow and Odin. Meow with his shitty mastery, you'll see it when you fight him. You're gonna be seeing Meow do like 5 damage and then he'll be doing 30. It's completely random. So kill Lassic, just kill him. Head to the governor's palace, you know, so you can tell him that Lassic is dead, and you fall into a trap. You go up and down the hall and you're confused on where you're supposed to go next. It actually turns out you have to be standing in the right square of a spot, turn facing the wall, and there's a secret door leading to Dark Falls, the real bad guy who possessed Lassic in the first place. I mean, I don't know what to say about that. I mean, what were they thinking about putting such a hidden door there? That's really mysterious. After everything we've been through in this whole game, with all the crazy cryptic shit, we actually have to endure more of it after we've beaten what we thought was the final boss? It's like, why couldn't this governor's palace, okay, if you want to make us fall in the trap, fine, but make it one long hallway that we have to go through. There's a door, and there you fight Dark Falls, who, like, it's something like that. Like, why couldn't we have that? Why did we have to basically beat the game and then spend the last, like, 5% of the game so confused on where to go next? That's insane. Now, luckily, if you're playing the Sega Ages version, you have the map. You have the map right there, and it shows you where there is a hidden door on the map. And thank goodness for that. Now check this out. Remember how I said the Laconian axe really was not as good overall as a laser gun? Here's why. Dark Falls is completely immune to the Laconian axe. Like, why? Why? That's crazy. So like an optional weapon, you need it. You need that laser gun because that's the only way Odin's gonna do any damage whatsoever. So you better have that laser gun. But yeah, I mean, pretty much just have Alice use fire, have Meow attack all the time, Odin attack with a laser gun, and Noah use wind, and he's gonna be good as dead. So you defeat Dark Falls, and it turns out that it was actually the governor of Motavia that was being possessed by Dark Falls. Which doesn't make any sense, because Lassic was possessed by Dark Falls, and he looked like Lassic. Dark Falls is possessing the governor, but he looks like Dark Falls. That doesn't make any sense. Forget about it though. So the governor apologizes and then says that Alice is the rightful heir to become queen of the Algo solar system. And she says yes. And now Alice is the queen of the solar system. And that's it. Not a bad game, I really gotta say. I mean, like I said, like, playing it now might be difficult. I mean, you gotta be a hardcore RPG fan, you gotta know what you're getting into, but thankfully, this game really isn't that long. You can beat it in under 20 hours. That's not a long RPG at all. The problem really, like that I thought was that towards the end of the game, you really are just doing fetch quest after fetch quest after fetch quest. But that's typical in RPGs always, is like in the final act, you gotta get like the gear, the proper gear to be able to withstand the final boss's power. So actually my first time playing Phantasy Star 1 was when I was 13 on this. It's Phantasy Star Collection on Game Boy Advance. I remember getting this for like Christmas, I think. If you're gonna play Phantasy Star 1, you got to play the Sega Ages version. You have to play it. Get it. I know I have it on Switch. I don't know if it's on other consoles. But you gotta play the Sega Ages version. That makes the game extremely playable for people of today, because it prevents you from, looking at the screen and then turning your head right to look at the computer, looking at your game, turning at the computer, looking at the game, turning at the computer, because you gotta look at the maps of the dungeons. Because think about it, you really think you're gonna figure out those dungeons on your own? Yeah, it's possible, but what people did was they drew maps back then. They drew maps of the dungeon, if you can even believe that. I can't talk about this game as if I was a kid in the 80s, because I wasn't. I mean, I was born in 92, so I missed out on a lot of things. I love this game. It's a game that I'm able to play over and over again, especially with the Sega Ages version. That game is just, the Sega Ages Phantasy Star is just so much better than Phantasy Star 1. Not only does it have the map, but it actually, I think it gives you more experience and more meseta. So overall, it takes out that late 80s grind out of it. I highly recommend you play Sega Ages Phantasy Star 1. You're not gonna regret it, and you're probably gonna want to continue with the series.